Theology, Westminster Theological Seminary, Escondido, California. Speaker at this conference, Reverend Ken Jones, Pastor Glendale Missionary Baptist Church in Miami, Florida. Dr. Albert B. Coleman, former president of the United Methodist University in Liberia, village administrators, staff, missionaries, volunteers, and conferees, Christian brothers and sisters. I bring you greetings from the lay leaders and officers and members of the Liberia Episcopal area of the United Methodist Church, from my darling wife, Richlyn, who could be here because of visa difficulties, and our children, and from the wonderful people of Liberia. I'm grateful to God Almighty, who has granted us the gift of life and the opportunity to be here. I extend my thanks and appreciation to Mother Rosemary Jensen, Sister Karen, Jerry, and the organizers of this conference for inviting us to participate in sharing with you our ministry's experiences in Liberia. Dr. Coleman and I are greatly honored. You know, yesterday we heard a sermon, and the preacher was talking about we love praises from men. And yes, sometimes it is good to praise men and to appreciate them for what they do. And so at this juncture, I want to just praise the founder for the vision to reach out to Africa and to not only share the gospel of Jesus Christ, but to help to raise the standard of the lives of the people of Africa. Before I begin sharing with you, I want to ask you to kindly stand with me for a few seconds as you are able. In a moment of silence for all those who have died during this global pandemic, and especially for those who died tragically from the collapsed building in Southside, Florida, a few days ago. May their souls and all other faithful departed rest in perfect peace in Jesus' name. Amen. Please be seated. Since I have 2 days to share, and the third day will be between Dr. Coleman and I want to begin sharing with you an autobiography of who I am. Then tomorrow I will share with you my ministry's experiences as a pastor and the road to the episcopacy. Then on Wednesday, Dr. Coleman and I will share together. I will outline the plans and visions for the United Methodist Church in Liberia. And Dr. Coleman will share on education, classical education, in context, especially the United Methodist University. So today, I want to begin with myself. Who am I? Like Dr. Johnson was saying, who am I? in the Lord. Who am I? I wasn't born a bishop, not seminary. No. I was born in a little town, a little village called Quire, and that is in southern Liberia, the southeastern part of Liberia. Those of you who've been to Liberia, there's a county called Grand Cru. Before it became a county, it was a territory of one of the counties, one of the oldest counties called Maryland. We have, Maryland in Liberia also. So it was then called the Cru territory. And I was born in that little village called Quire down the beach. In the year 1959, September 5th. So you see, my face looks deceptive, right? But I got a lot of age behind me. So I was born in 1959, September 5th, until the Reverend Samuel J. Quire Sr. and Madame Lucy Quire. Both of them are deceased now. And I am the 7th child of 9 children. And right now we have lost 4 of our siblings. So we are only 5 left. As a young man growing up, as a little boy growing up in Quire along the Seine, I always used to, play along the Seine and started my education very seriously. We had some disciplinarian teachers. In those days, when you went to school, the teacher was not only your teacher, but he or she was more or less like a parent. And so, since it was a village, education was a very high commodity. And those educators wanted to make sure that we had the kind of education that was needed at the time. And there was a rule. If for any reason you skipped classes and you didn't give a genuine excuse, your teacher will go looking for you at home. Oh my goodness. And so on this day, we were given some assignments, in the primer book. They had the primer book, and so because I did not read and did not prepare, I sent a message and said that I was sick. And being one of the brightest students, the teacher would not take that excuse. So she decided to look for me and to see what had happened to her student. And so when she got home to where I was, she saw me behind a pot of palm butter rice. And she said, "Well, my young man, you really are sick." And she said, "Well, I guess when you are through eating this pot of palm butter, you have to go back to school. I'll see you later." And do you know what? When I got to school that morning, I received some beating. In 1968, my father became ill and eventually passed on. And that changed my whole life. And so I had to leave Galway, my village, and matriculate to Monrovia, the capital city of Liberia, in 1969. At that time, I was in the second grade, and so I had to go and live with my foster brother. And he and his wife became my foster parents. So I continued my education from 1969, went to the elementary school and graduated from there. Oh, what happened to it? Jared? I need your help. Where is your Okay.
Oh, now we're getting real madness going on. Okay. Let's try it this way.
Yeah.
Is that better?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Jared. So I went through my educational sojourn in public schools, and by 1978, I entered high school, and while I was in high school, I began to have some inner struggles. I began to find an identity about who I am actually, and especially as it relates to God. And in high school, we had some fellowship, clubs. And my friends would call me and say, well, Samuel, you need to come and join us. And then I said, for what? Say, we want you to give your life to Christ. I said, what Christ? And then they would talk about Jesus and how Jesus is the Son of God. And then I had a history teacher, and he would always debate, how can Jesus be God's son? And I said, yes, how can Jesus be God's son? God cannot have a son. Yeah, so I refused. I will always refuse to go to fellowships. But then something happened to me in 1978. I became very ill. I was sick, even to die. Sick with the malaria. I think those of you who know about Africa, you know about malaria, right? And I was sick with malaria almost at the point of death. And so as I lay on my bed, I began to pray. I said, well, even though I'm not a Christian, but God, if you're up there, please save me. And when you heal me, I will serve you. So I made a deal with God, not knowing that God will hold me to my deal. So, and I said a lot of things. I said, when I was growing up, my parents couldn't, or my foster parents couldn't afford to buy me suits, to wear in those days. And then when anybody dies, the person will be dressed in a coat suit. So I said to God, I have not worn a coat suit as a living being. So please don't let me die because I don't want to wear a coat suit. I want to wear a living suit. I want to wear a coat suit while I'm alive. So God heard my prayers, and he healed me. So in 1979, at Sunday school convention, I gave my life to Christ. And from that point on, I began to, worship, go to church, but I still was not keeping the deal about the part of serving God. I graduated from high school in 1980, and then I began to do other things. But one day in 1983, while I was in the garden doing some work, And I heard this voice and said, Samuel. And I was looking around, so I went to ask my guardian then, did you call me? She said, no. So I went back again. Then the voice said to me, Samuel. And I was looking around again. I said, but you called me. She said, no. So the third time, the voice said to me, Samuel. Then I said, oh, wait. What's happening? Then the voice said to me, have you forgotten the deal that you will serve me if I heal you? I said, oh my gosh. I said, well, I surrender. I will serve you. So in 1984, when I got the call, I went to seminary in 1984. And I started my seminary education in Central Liberia, called the Banga School of Theology in Central Liberia. That was where I went to seminary for my seminary education. And while I was in the seminary, I have a very beautiful voice. I sing. And so when I went to seminary, I attached myself to a local church. It is called the St. John United Methodist Church. And immediately, the pastor assigned me as the choir director. So I began to teach the young people in the choristers how to sing the hymns and how to sing anthems and selections. And guess what? In that choir was a young lady by the name of Richling. And while I was teaching, I was also eyeing Richling. And one thing led to another thing. And then I was at the point of graduation, so I told Richling, I said, well, Richling, I would like to make you my wife. And Richling said, no, you can't do that. I said, well, if you are afraid, I will write your parents. And so she permitted me, and I wrote her parents, and they accepted me. And so in 1987, I was ordained as a deacon in the United Methodist Church. At that time, we had two orders. First, you will be ordained as a deacon, and then after 3 years, you come back, and then they ordain you as an elder. So in 1987, I was ordained a deacon, graduated, and then my bishop posted me to a local church in down south, to southeast. And I was there as an intern pastor. And the bishop sent me to prepare the place. I was like John the Baptist because we always had our annual conferences in different areas. So the bishop said, go to Kipambas district and prepare the place because the annual conference will be held in Kipambas district. So I went, and again I organized the young people, and in 1988 the conference was held, and I received my first appointment, my first pastoral appointment as a minister. And in 1989, Richland and I tied the knots. In 1989, January 28th. And that union is blessed with several children, biological as well as non-biological children. Yes. And so I started my pastoral ministry as a deacon. And then in 1993, I was ordained an elder in the United Methodist Church. And from there, the bishop assigned me to various positions in the United Methodist Church. I serve as annual conference associate secretary, and I was responsible for recording all of the meetings every time the annual conference took place. I was one of the recorders of the various events. And then in the year 2000, the bishop assigned me as the director for the Bishop Judith Craig Children's Village, which is on the Robertsfield Highway. I think those of our VAs, is that VAs? No, not VAs, but our administrators who are at the villages. I think those who, the administrator at Rafiki in Liberia knows Bishop Judith Craig Children's Village. Right? Julie, are you here? Oh, yes, Julie knows. So I was the first director of that children's village. Just like what Rafiki does, we were catering to orphans. And I was there for like 7 years. And while I was there, I gave most of my time to the children. Gave up my time, gave up my whole life to the children. Even to the point that my own children would sometimes wonder, but I mean, why are you neglecting us? And I will always say to them, well, you know, you have me. But these kids do not have parents. Their parents died during the war as a result of the, war that was started from 1989 or 90 to 2003. So I was its first director. And since I gave my life to Christ in 1979, I have never looked back. I have not done any work outside of the church. I'm a church boy, so my whole life has been in the church. If you tell me about any other work, I will not be able to do. But when you tell me about the church, yes, I can do my best. And so that's who I am, and my life has been placed in the hands of God. And I just want to share with you a testimony. I came here March 29. I was having some medical problems. So went to Johns Hopkins Hospital, and the urologist diagnosed the problem and said I needed to do a major surgery. And so I was prepared for the surgery. And that's why I was trying hard to let Richland come. But unfortunately, the embassy would not give her a visa. Yeah, so the surgery was scheduled for May 18. And so I was praying about it. I said, Lord, I've never been caught. There have not been any knife placed on me since I was born. Are you going to allow, the doctors to perform this surgery on me? It was not that I was afraid, but I said to God, I know that you are still in the business of healing. And I know I can trust you. Yesterday, something came to me about the sermon again. The preacher said, there is a difference between believe in God and believe God. And I said, God, I believe you for my healing. May 18 came, went to the hospital early in the morning, did all of the pre-ops and everything. They rolled me in the theater. And the surgery was supposed to last for 4 hours. Because that's what the urologist said to me. 4 hours. We're going to take 4 hours to do your surgery. But guess what happened? It took only 1 hour. And then when I woke up, I found myself in the recovery room, and I began to hear voices. Then when I came through, I asked, I said, what happened? They said, the surgery is over. I said, what? Surgery is over? I said, no, I have to see the doctor. What happened? So the doctor finally came and said, when he came, I said, what happened, doc? He said, Samuel, I don't know what you did. But when we look at your case again, the surgery was not necessary. We thought the surgery was unnecessary. And so I said, well, God, indeed, you hear prayers. And that is why I'm standing here now, and I'm able to be here and to share with you that our God is good all of the time. And so that's who I am. Samuel Jerome Quire Jr. was not born a bishop, but today I'm a bishop. So I would just like to stop here for today, and then tomorrow we can go on about and talk about my ministry's experience in the United Methodist Church and the road to episcopacy. Because there is a road that leads to episcopacy in the United Methodist Church. So, but I will tell you a little bit more about myself or tomorrow and about my ministerial experiences as a United Methodist minister before I became a bishop of the United Methodist Church. So I would like to stop, and maybe you may have some questions. You want to ask me some questions, and then I will answer. So let me stop. Any question? Yes?
Were you in Liberia the entire time of the Civil War?
Yes. All right. Let me tell you about the Civil War. The war started in 1990. Rachel and I, my wife, I had gone back to seminary after I got my diploma in theology. And so the bishop appointed me to go back to school. So we were in Banga, central Liberia. From March, April, the middle of April, the rebels were approaching, came from north central Liberia, and they were pushing their way to central Liberia, to the capital city of Bon County called Banga. And it was in the morning. We heard the heavy shooting, heavy artillery. And then we saw our soldiers, government soldiers, running away. And they came on our campus and they were telling us, you have to leave here. The rebels are advancing very rapidly. You have to leave here. So that morning, we alarmed the authorities. They got a minibus, and as many persons that could be evacuated were evacuated from Banga. And then I went to Monrovia, where there's a place called Bushra Island outside of Monrovia, and there where my wife and I stopped with my older sister in 1990 April, and guess what? Rachel was pregnant, and that's the most difficult time for any woman to be pregnant when war is advancing. So we were on Bushra Island from April, May, June 14th. Rachel put to bed. She put to bed with our daughter. But the rebels were still coming. So by that time, Monrovia was tensed. And there were a lot of mysterious killings going on in Monrovia. You will find headless bodies littering all over the place. And summary executions were going on because, and in those days, it was very dangerous for you to wear, for a male to wear jeans trousers and a red t-shirt, because that was the dress code of the rebels. They wore blue jeans and red t-shirts. So if you were caught wearing blue jeans and red t-shirt, the soldiers will arrest you for questioning. But Monrovia was tensed from June, July, August, and Chancellor and his rebels were almost close to Monrovia and at the executive mansion. Then at that time, the peacekeeping force called ECOMOG arrived in Liberia on August 24th. And they were the one who came with heavy firepower and pushed Taylor and his men, out of Monrovia into the suburbs. So I was in Monrovia. I was in Monrovia the whole time of the war. But where we were, there was another group that came that broke away from Taylor, and that group was headed by Prince Johnson, General Prince Johnson. And his group was called the Independent National Patriotic Front of Liberia. So he captured the part of where we were. And his rebels were a little bit mild. They were not taking people out of their homes, telling you to leave your home. And so we were a little bit peaceful there, but we couldn't get food. It was difficult to get food. And one of the things that I experienced during the war was hunger. We were hungry for many days. We couldn't find food to eat. You would drink, tea and water for like 3 days. Nothing solid would enter our mouth. So that was one of the things that we really suffered during the 1990 war. Later on, when ECOMOG entered Liberia, the United Nations, they negotiated a broker ceasefire. And so United Nations and other organizations came in and they brought in food. And that was how we were, relieved, we were helped during the war. But yes, I was in Monrovia the whole while during the war, 1990, yeah.
Other questions?
Yes.
Can you tell us about your children?
Oh, yes. Well, I have many children. I have 5 biological children. I have 2 girls and 3 boys. Our youngest son is still in high school. 2 of my children are out of college. One of them was on a missionary journey, but she's back now to Liberia. I have a son who is in India, and he's studying information technology, IT. Recently, he underwent a surgery, and he has some defection in the, in his teeth, jaw, and there was some growth. In fact, it was because of that his mother took him to India in 2018. When I was on my way to General Conference, his mother took him to India. And after they went back to Liberia, he decided to go to India to go to school. And he said, just in case this growth returns, I want to be in India so that you won't have to pay a lot of money. So, and that was the most wise thing to do. So recently when the growth, reappeared, he went back in, and they went back in there, and they got it out again. Yeah. So like I said, our youngest son is in high school now in the 11th grade, and he will be graduating hopefully next year. We are praying that the new spike in COVID will not prevent him from doing that, so that they will not close down the schools. Because last year, most of the schools were shut down as a result of the COVID. Yeah. Somebody's hand was up. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing. I know this is a big question.
Yeah.
Is there a way you can describe the effects that the years of civil war had on Liberia today?
Yes. Number one, as a result of the Civil War, our electrical grid was totally destroyed. We had the hydro plant that was producing electricity. When the rebels entered, they were shooting at almost anything. They went to the hydro plant in Mount Coffee, outside of Monrovia, and looted that whole plant. And they destroyed it. And as a result now today, our city, the whole country is in darkness. Yes. Bob, are you here? Bob was telling us, he was sharing with us something about, he said the Rafiki village in Liberia has its own own electricity. So they are in control of the electricity, you know. Yes, more secure, because they provide their own electricity and they are not depending on the electrical grid where you have to wait. If it comes on fire, if it doesn't come on, then there's no electricity. So in Liberia, we cannot generate electric power as a result of the war. The second thing is all of the pipes, they were damaged, and so we don't have we don't have clean drinking water now running through the pipes. Yes. The third thing is the economy. Liberia was trying to, rise up, and the economy was, was trying to develop under first William R. Tolbert, then Samuel Doe, but as a result of the war, we are gone backward. We're 100 years backward. Then we were progressing. Economy right now is down, very bad. Cost of living is high. The people can hardly find 1 square meal per day. All of these things are as a result of the war. All of our infrastructures were destroyed. I mean, the soldiers, because the leaders told them, let's take for example, this is Rafiki village, and if they capture this village, each soldier would take a house and say, this is my house, I've captured it. It is my house. They will own it. And then later on, when they were leaving those buildings, they looted the buildings. They took the tiles out of the building, they dug up the commodes, they went in the walls, took out all the electrical, appliances, and everything they could lay their hands on, they looted. They went to public buildings, they looted them, and they just destroyed the infrastructure. Yeah, so these are some of the effects of the Civil War in Liberia. So we are reeling from the Civil War, and we don't know when we'll really recover. Our roads are bad. We don't have good road networks in the whole of Liberia. I don't think we have about 20 or 25 kilometers of good road networks, So, but quite recently, under President Salif, they were able to salvage some of the, roads. And then President Quire is also trying to do something, but we are still in the red. Very difficult.